Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at the Nocturnals, Black Planet, Dan Brereton's wonderful comic from the early 90s. This collects the first miniseries that introduced us to the Nocturnals. Dan Brereton came out in the 80s, kind of came to prominence drawing the Black Terror for Eclipse. It was his first comic, and instantly people recognized his talent. DC hired him pretty quickly and had him work on a lot of high-profile miniseries and such. And then when Malibu, with their Bravura, creator-owned Bravura imprint, started in like the early 90s, Dan Brereton came on board, and this was his offering for that creator-owned line, the Nocturnals. He ran for 6 issues. I think it sold well, but then Malibu went out of business. And so for a bunch of years, the Nocturnals were kind of forgotten. And in 1998, Oni Press released this collection. And it's a beautiful, it's beautiful art in here, as you can tell by the cover. And to be honest, the writing's pretty okay. It's his first written work. This guy was just an artist. And the characters he creates are amazing. And he seems to have a good ear for dialogue. Some of the mechanics of this story are a little weird, where you're just like, okay, why are we going here now? But of course, that could just be me being an idiot and not getting his storytelling. But overall, though, I just love these characters. This is one of those comics where, I read it 20 years ago, and rereading it last night, I liked it so much more than I remember. Just because these characters are so fucking great. They're so cool. So beautiful cover here. It's kind of a nice graphic novel. Nice amount of pages. I like these end papers. It's almost like he took his art and did some kind of process to it, or just went to a Kinko's and copied it over and over. It looks kind of interesting, bizarre. And here we have the title page with the credits. And we have an introduction from this film director and screenwriter, Ken Sanzel. And we start with the story. Oh, already you can tell, just every panel is like this. Every page, every panel, beautifully painted artwork. And here we're introduced to the Gun Witch. We only see him in silhouette, and he looks so fucking cool. You barely see him. There's the Gun Witch's dog, which is weird. He's always around the Gun Witch, but they don't really ever talk about the dog. It's almost like he's not there. Nobody really mentions him, but I just think it's funny that he has this little dog companion hanging around all the time. So we start the story off. We're at the Narn-K Laboratories, specifically the Monster Shop. This is like their total like black ops, totally secret part of the organization, because what they're doing is completely illegal. And they basically create like Frankenstein monsters, either synthetics, which are kind of like androids, or hybrids, in which they've mixed animal and human DNA. The reason they do this is basically to create monsters for sale. So like if you're a mercenary army or a foreign government, you can buy these to beef up your ranks. Because, of course, they all have superhuman powers. And we're introduced to Komodo here, the Dragon Boy. And he's in the sewers under Narn-K. He's trying to escape. And he's lost. He's got this map that's not really helping him. And then the security guards from Narn-K show up. This is the leader. He's the main heavy. He's like the chief of Narn-K security. His name's Fane. And he's got some of his synthetics there. And his synthetic soldiers. And Fane shoots Komodo right in the leg. Komodo attacks the synthetics. He just rips this guy's arm off. It's a weird face there. It's like, ooh. And he continues to escape, trying to make his escape. And Fane is in hot pursuit with the remaining synthetics. We see that he's got these vestigial wings that were kind of blown off by Fane the last time he tried to escape. And then all of a sudden we see the Gunwitch's dog and then Gunwitch. And now we get to see Gunwitch in his awesome, cool glory. I love his little hat here because he's basically a reanimated corpse. We'll find out later that the kind of the leader of the Nocturnals, he brought him back to life using his super science. So he smells. He's a walking corpse. He totally looks like Simon Garth, the living zombie, or whatever his name was, from the Marvel black and white magazines. But because he smells so bad, he's a corpse, there's flies around him all the time, right? So his giant witch hat also is a combination, kind of that Australian kind of hat with the little things to keep the flies away. Just a really cool character design. So Gunwitch shows up, and he takes out all the synthetics, the bad guys, except for Fane. I don't know why he's not called the Gun Warlock. But Gunwitch does sound kind of cool. Man, such a cool looking character. So Komodo makes his escape, and Fane is basically left holding his dick and being like, oh, I'll get you one day, Komodo. I'll get all you Nocturnals. Look at his weird hair. I was thinking how, like, the only hair in comics that's like that is Clea from Doctor Strange. Only Steve Ditko would make such a weird hair design, but he's got it. And the whole comic, I was like, what's up with his hair? And then I realized, oh my God, that's Clea. I wonder if that was conscious, if he actually knew he was doing it. So now we're in the Zampa Incorporated offices. These are basically the mafia. And we see this guy, Tony Zampa. He's the scion of the guy who started the whole crime organization. His dad, who stepped down, he's retired, and so now he's taken over. He's obviously gotten very cozy with Narn K. He's trying to push the Narn K synthetics on his lieutenants. He's like, screw these, torpedoes and these gunzels. We could get these synthetics and they'll be loyal, and we don't have to pay them as much. I guess we just buy them. They're like slaves. And the guy, and Fane is there, brokering the deal, I guess, or making sure everything goes smoothly. And the lieutenants are like, I don't know about this. I don't want to, this is our family. I don't want to kick out all my soldiers, have these robots. But Tony seems very insistent that this is the way it's going to be. And then we get to meet the raccoon. The raccoon comes in. And he's an escapee from Narn K. He's been out for a while, though. He's this formidable gangster now. And he pulls a gun. It looks like it's a double cross. And even Tony's synthetic bodyguard, supplied by Narn K, turns on Tony. And Raccoon shoots him down in cold blood. I love the character design of Raccoon. He looks like the Beast from the X-Men, but cooler. And all the lieutenants just laugh. Like, yeah, we never liked that Tony anyway. It's kind of weird how Fane obviously doesn't like this turn of events, but he's just sitting there. And they don't attack him. He's just like, oh, well. I guess you just killed my ally in your organization, you know, the Tony. Kind of a little weird. Later on, we see, I almost said the beast. We see Raccoon and the synthetic. And they reach under Tony's armpit, and there's this squid-like creature, like an alien creature, that's been controlling Tony, we find out. These are called the Crim. They're from another world. We'll get into more of that later. The raccoon has no idea what the hell's going on, like what the squid is. And so Fane is just basically watching all this. It's very odd. And then he just leaves. It basically sounds like, you know, the raccoon will deal with him because he's a gangster. He's got no ethics. But he also, you know, doesn't like him. He used to be his captor. But he's such a, you know, amoral gangster that it's like, yeah, if there's money involved. But he doesn't like him, that's for sure. So I guess the gangsters, when they were talking before, Doc Horror, the leader of the Nocturnals, he was captured, and he's being held in this safe house. So that Tony was feeling very triumphant before they double-crossed him and killed him. And he was just like, we finally got Doc Horror. Tonight we're going to take care of him. He's in our, you know, under our control. And so now we see most of the Nocturnals show up at the safe house. And just a bunch of great characters. Starfish, Fire Lion, and Halloween Girl, who's Doc Horror's daughter, and Polychrome. And they show up at the house, and Fire Lion basically is like the Human Torch. And he uses his powers. And they break into the safe house. Meanwhile, we see these are going to be two major characters. These two detectives. And the interesting thing about the Nocturnals is, even though it's all this horror stuff and kind of sci-fi too, it's like a hard-boiled crime fiction, the way it's written. All the dialogue is, you know, this great tough guy dialogue. And as if you didn't pick that up already, Brereton names these two cops, Williford and Goodis, which is the names of two of the, you know, best crime fiction authors of all time, Charles Williford and Dave Goodis. Williford's the old one, kind of looks like Sam Elliott. And we do see that for a first-time writer, he's pretty good with the dialogue. Like, just 2 pages of these guys talking, it's like, okay, these are interesting characters. There's some good dialogue, decent dialogue. And throughout, we're going to find that, where we meet a character, and just after a few pages, he's set up a interesting, basically, person that you want to follow, you know? And it's kind of weird, too. They're riding right by this safe house where this shit's going down, but they just drive on by. I guess they don't know what's going on. So inside the safe house, they're planning their strategy. God, he just draws people so attractively, men and women. Like, look at Polychrome here. She's just gorgeous. But and Fireline is fucking hot as hell. Everyone's so good looking. Even Starfish, she should be like ridiculous looking with this catfish whiskers. She's got the features of a catfish, but she's beautiful. The way he paints her is just very interesting. And then Halloween Girl is just cute as hell. The one problem is even though he paints so well and draws so well, because, you know, a lot of painters, they're good at slopping down the paint, but they're actually not very good drawers. And Dan Brereton is. So he's got this great comic book style, comic booky style, but then it's beautifully painted. So it's not kind of like sitting there lifeless on the page like some of the painted artists. The art's a little listless, we'll say, not very dynamic. But there's one problem, though, with this drawing, I think, is that Halloween girl, her age seems to change in every panel. Like in this first one, she looks like she's probably like 13 or 14 or 8. And here, this looks like, I don't know, 21-year-old woman peeking her head in. So now we find out what Halloween girl's powers are. These two goons are like, what the hell's this little kid doing here? And she takes out her little trick-or-treat jack-o'-lantern. And there's all these dolls in there. And we find out that these dolls are like her guardians. And they turn into giant monsters, savage monsters. And they just rip these guys into shreds. It's all off screen. We just hear the snap, crunch. Get away from me. And she's just coldly watching. Then we see another group of henchmen. And we see Doc Horror. He's all trussed up. And I gotta say, guys, I think it's probably my fault because I'm a dummy. I don't know who this woman is. She keeps popping up, and I'm not quite sure who she is or what her purpose is. But she seems like she's interviewing Doc Horror and asking him all these questions, even though it looks like he can't answer because he's got this giant thing over his mouth. And I think maybe she works for 9K, but I'm not sure. I assume she does if she's in the safe house. And then Starfish and Firelion break into this room. Basically, Starfish's powers are she just shoots guns. That's all she seems to ever do. So even though these monsters all have these Nocturnals all have powers and stuff, but a lot of them just seem to shoot people. So it has this weird hard-boiled edge to the horror. And so they make short work of these goons. It's just a massacre. This nebulous woman, it's weird. She's just totally nonplussed. She's just like, there's a massacre going on, and she's just sitting there. Excuse me, you're interrupting my interview. The one thing that's kind of weird about painted art is, I imagine some artists know how to deal with this, but you have to superimpose the sound effects over it. And I don't know if it's the letter is not that good, if it's his fault, but this looks just so artificial. I know that sounds weird. It's art, but it looks, I don't know, something's off about it. I wish it was integrated better into the art. So many cool poses. In almost every page, there's this total poster shot of the characters. I like this look on her face here. And then they don't seem to do anything to her. It seems like she was part of the abduction of Doc Horror. And she's just kind of scolding them. She's like, you people have some nerve. I'm going to call for more security. And they don't do anything. God, that's a great panel of polychrome. All these panels are great. I'm trying my best not to point out every single panel how good it is. So Doc Horror is free now. And we finally get to see Doc Horror, the leader of the Nocturnals. He's got gravitas coming out of his wazoo. He's a brilliant scientist. And even though it doesn't really seem to have much importance to the plot, apparently he's from another world. And he's come here to fight those those squid beings. But he also has other reasons to be here, I guess. It's kind of he's got this background that we don't know much about. But for all intents and purposes, it doesn't even matter that he's from this other planet. I think that was something I read, in the back cover or something. They mention it, or in the editorial, in the introduction, I meant to say. So, of course, Halloween Girl's very happy to see her dad. And they're all reunited. So they go back to their headquarters. It's called the Tomb. It's underground. And, yeah, that woman just walks away. They don't do anything. It's kind of weird, some of the little plot turns in this comic. So now here we are in the Tomb. Komodo, they've taken him in. And now he's part of the Nocturnals. After the Gun Witch saved him. Polychrome and Eve. That's Halloween Girl's name, is Eve, which is short for evening. I think this is kind of a nice name. I don't know if anyone's in the real world's ever been named Evening. And Gun Witch shows up. See what I mean about the age change in her face? She looks like she's 30 here. So this is nice, just once again, the dialogue. We kind of get to know a little bit more about the character of these characters. And now we're back at the Zampa mansion. And the Nocturnals are there. Well, some of the Nocturnals. I guess the Narn K has loaned out some security to the Zampas. These like kind of werewolf-looking security guards. The Nocturnals kick their ass pretty quickly, and they enter the mansion. And here we meet Don Lupo. So, you know, he's the father of Tony, the dead gangster. He's retired, and Doc Harrer wants to talk to him. So we find out that Doc Harrer used to be basically the main torpedo for Don Lupo. He took out a lot of his enemies, and it's almost like they have a father-son relationship. When Doc Harrer says sorry about your son, the father says, you were always much kinder to Tony than he deserved. So it's kind of weird, like, he knows his son was a kind of a turd. And Doc Harrer is more of a son to him than his son was. You can tell by their dialogue they have a very close relationship. And they both really care for each other. Doc Harrer, being a scientist, he brings him some kind of vitamin injection to help him out. You know, Don Lupo's not in very good health. So now we see the two detectives. Okay, so we're in the Zampa Inc. offices. So maybe this woman works for the Zampas? I still don't know. I'm so dumb. And Williford and Goodis are questioning her, trying to get to the bottom of this. They know something's up, but they have no clue that it's all this crazy supernatural monster business. So then we see Fane now is talking to Don Lupo. And basically Don Lupo's telling him to fuck off. Fane is like, yeah, I want to get that Doc Harrer guy. And he's like, I'm not going to help you get my best friend. So he says, I brought you a present. And it's one of those squids, the Crim. And pretty horrifying. Takes over Don Lupo. So now he's going to be a puppet of Narn K. We kind of see why this guy never takes his scarf off. As you see tentacles coming out. Very beautifully painted tentacles, by the way. Man, just even this sculpture in the background is beautiful. This art is incredible. Now we're back in the tomb. Once again, just a couple of pages of dialogue between Doc Harrer and his daughter. It's really nice dialogue. You realize how much they love each other. That, He's a great father and loves his daughter so much. She's such a little cutie. Look at her. I like how she's still just a little kid. You know, she is like basically in this monster group, and she murders guys with her toys, but she's still just a kid. The way she talks. There she is, just being a little kid. So now we cut away to this Taco Hell restaurant, and the raccoon he's in a meeting with Fane. And once again, Raccoon doesn't like this guy, but he's he's willing to deal with him if he can make a profit. Back to Williford and Goodis. They're at the Zampa Estate now. Once again, they want to talk to Don Lupo. It's a very Sam Elliott looking Williford again. I gotta say, I wish I had the floppies of this comic. Like a lot of collections, I'm really trying to crack the spine to show you guys the art, but it's kind of hard. And I just wish I could find the floppies and get rid of this. Because it's kind of annoying that you have to open it so much to see all the art. Now we cut away to a cemetery, and the Nocturnals are there digging up Tony Zampa's grave. Man, look how hot Fireline is. He's a handsome devil. Love this panel of Starfish. It's amazing. So they open up the coffin, and these, like, I think these are related to the squids. There are these little dragons come out, and the Nocturnals dispatch them pretty quickly. And when they look inside the coffin, ooh, not quite yet. We'll see that in a second. Did I skip a page? Hold on. Not quite yet. Then the raccoon shows up. I love this thing he's wearing. Like some kind of flannel tartan. I don't know what he's wearing, but he looks cool. So we can tell, Raccoon respects Doc Harrer. I think Doc Harrer helped free him from Narn K all those years ago. Because Doc Harrer is almost like a Harriet Tubman. He's helped a lot of these hybrids escape from Narn K, from the monster shop. But he also is just like, he's not his buddy. He's a gangster. He's kind of ruthless. And so they parlay. And when he leaves, and then they look at the coffin after some cool posing. And they see Tony, his reanimated corpse, because the Krim are still controlling him. He still talks like a gangster, though, in the same dialect as Tony. But he's obviously dead, and it's the Krim talking through him. Man, Doc Harrer looks so cool. Now we're back in the tomb, and there's all the flies around Gunwitch, and apparently bats. He attracts bats. So now we get a flashback. And we see a very young Eve. And this is one of an earlier incident when Doc Harrer fought the Krim. I guess the Krim take many forms, almost humanoid forms. And also, like we've seen with Fane. And this is the thing, I think this might be that other planet where he's from. And then Fane shows up. It looks like maybe before he became less squiddy. God, this younger version of Eve is so adorable. Look at her. I wonder if Dan Brereton uses a lot of photo reference. I think he does. And so apparently Eve is in possession of this like talisman, which is basically like a transporter. It makes a portal through space. And she can beam the team wherever she wants. So this is like earlier on, and she has this thing. And, well, Doc Harr has it, and he throws her through the portal to safety. I think this might be how they got to Earth, but I'm not quite sure. It's just this flashback. So Fane really wants this transporter, I imagine, so he can, for nefarious ends. And Fane tries to attack Doc Harr with his tentacles. Well, he does attack him. And then he jumps through the portal. And Fane says he forgot to shut the door behind him. We'll see him again. So this also might be how Fane got to Earth, through the same portal that he left open. Now we're back to the present. And we're in the tombs again. Now we switch back to the Zampa estate. Raccoon is breaking in. And, of course, these synthetic guards come out. Well, actually, these are just mafioso. These are humans. Look at that kick-ass picture of Raccoon here. Doing a little John Woo action. And Raccoon wants to talk to old Lupo. And it's Lupo's sitting there playing video games, which he does not do. And Raccoon realizes something's up. And then Fane's there. I love this face of Don Lupo here. You can kind of see the video game light reflecting. He's bathed in the glow of the video game. And so remember, Don Lupo's under the control of Fane now. And he calls Doc Harr and says, "Come, I need you as soon as you can." And apparently Gunwitch is there. There's so many things in this book I don't quite get. Now we see Raccoon. He realizes that Fane is going to double cross him. Now that he's got Zampa under his control, I think he doesn't need Raccoon anymore. So he's like, "Ah, that son of a bitch." His faces are so good. This is another great panel. So now we see another flashback. And it's Doc Harr is visiting Don Lupo. And this is basically the scene where, well, first of all, he Don Lupo meets his daughter. And I assume this is his wife. She doesn't get much... Okay, no, it's not. I don't know who this woman is. If it's that woman who was interviewing Doc Harr later, I'd be really annoyed, because that's just crazy. But apparently she's friends with Eve. Oh my God, she's so cute. Look at her. And basically this scene is just, this is when Doc Harr says, You know, I respect you, Don Lupo. I've loved working for you, but I got to do my own thing. And of course, Don Lupo gives him his blessing. And now we're back to the present again. There's Fane being nefarious, plotting, scheming. And once again, we're back at the Zampa, the family home. Because, you know, old Lupo, the wolf, the old wolf, under the influence of the Crim, asked him to come. Here we see Goodis and Williford are staking out the place. Still don't really know what's going on. They just know it's something shady. And, you know, totally, the Zampas are a mafia. So, of course, they get inside, and Fane shows up, and he's there with his goons. And Doc Carr realizes he's been set up. This is a great scene where they're just all like, oh, I can't believe you brought a helpless child here, you fool. And Doc Carr says, show them who's helpless, honey. And she dumps her toys out. I like that look on her face, like, oh, you're going to get it. And her toys, once again, just turn these guys into mincemeat. So Doc Carr knows what's going on. He knows the score. So he rips the crim out of old Lupo's armpit. And he shoots it right in front of Fane. And Fane is just like, no. It's almost like, I think a lot of these crim are his spawn. He says, my hatchling. And now we get a nice little fight between Doc Carr and Fane. I guess there's a bunch of the synthetic goons are still alive. And it's not looking good for Doc Carr. Kind of surrounded, and Fane is up in his face. And then the gun witch shows up. I guess he's just been staking out the place himself the whole time. Look at that. No wonder he got his own miniseries. And so, of course, now the gun witch is there. The bad guys don't have a chance. Right then, the two detectives break in and say, freeze. Oh, there's a really Sam Elliott looking Williford. And Williford says, goodness, take care of the little girl. Make sure she's okay. So when he goes over to Eve, I don't know what's going on here, but maybe one of her toys is a ghost. And it kind of flips Goodis. Just knocks him on his ass. And Fane is still kicking, of course. And Doc Carr and Eve hightail it out of there with the gun witch. They activate one of their portals. Now we switch to a bar, and Raccoon is there talking to another escaped hybrid named King Snake. And they're with this low-life criminal. So basically they cut a deal. The Raccoon says, you're going to work for me now. You're going to make a lot of money. And Snake's like, I'm all in, boss. Sounds great. Back to the two detectives. They're hanging out at Hot Diggity Dogs. And they're comparing notes. And Williford's like, how the hell did that little girl knock you on your ass? What the hell happened back there? And then Polychrome shows up. She shows up at the, and it says like something cryptic to these guys. Man, look at the way he draws her is just amazing. And then she walks away. So like, what the fuck? So they run after her, pull their guns, and they're like, hey, you. And when she gets out there, when they see her, she's Fire Lion and Starfish are already there. They're not dispersing when the cops told them to, so they're like, oh shit, this is gonna turn into a fracas. And Fire Lion heats up Williford's gun, burns his hand, so he has to drop it. Man, look at this poster shot here. It's amazing. And so Polychrome, she's a pacifist. If you've noticed, she never hits anyone or does anything, but she's pretty kick-ass in her own pacifist way. So she comes over to Williford and actually heals his hand. She's got some kind of powers, I guess. And, it's another really nice panel. Man, those lips are huge. Look at those lips. It's like two giant gummy worms. Now we're back at the tombs. Another nice little sweet interlude between Doc Harrer and his daughter Eve. He basically says, honey, you got to sit this out. This is grown-up stuff. It's too dangerous. She says, screw that. And she gets Komodo to lead her to the underbelly of Narn K headquarters, through the sewers. I guess when she goes into action, she wears this little mask. It looks great. Great character design. And all of a sudden, they're right under the building and the headquarters, and we hear, freeze, stay where you are. A little mini cliffhanger. Because now we're back at the tomb, and Polychrome says, Eve's gone. So is Komodo. And Doc Harrer's like, what? And now we cut back to the sewers, and we see some Narn K security. It looks like they've captured our two heroes. They shoot Komodo full of tranquilizer darts, and as he passes out, he says, run, Eve, get out of here. Now we cut back to the tomb, and they figure out where Eve and Komodo went. It almost looks like a totally different style of painting here. Now we see this woman who I don't know who the fuck she is. And apparently Raccoon is on a date with her. He's trying to get with her. And there's a knock on the door. And all of a sudden the door explodes in. There's these hooded guys with guns. And Raccoon totally tears into him. I love this character. I wish Raccoon had his own series. Almost all these characters, I wish they had their own series. They're all like pretty damn interesting and cool in their own right. And then it looks like Raccoon is outgunned. And then all of a sudden a portal opens up. And it's the Nocturnals to the rescue. Or at least some of them. And they help the Raccoon. Raccoon pulls the hoods off one of them. It's King Snake. He's like, that's what you get for trusting a snake. Your weak, warm blood impedes your judgment, you dumb mammals. And Raccoon just bites into his neck and rips his throat out. I love this art. I like his colors too. Like, God, that's such a great green for Starfish. His palette is really nice. Very attractive. So now we cut back to the sewers. Eve's in trouble. For some reason, when they're under the Narn-K headquarters, her toys don't turn into monsters. They're just toys. And finally, the Nocturnals show up. And Fane's there. He grabs Eve. And the raccoon's with the Nocturnals. He's helping them out. I don't know if this is that woman who's now under crim control. I'm not quite sure. Sorry about that. But nonetheless, she's bad news. So a big melee breaks out. Dakar frees Eve from Fane's clutches. Slimy tentacle clutches. Fane attacks Dakar. So this is the big showdown. And then Komodo wakes up from the tranquilizer darts. And then a bunch of other hybrids show up at Raccoon's behest. And they take care of Fane. Gunwitch is there. Still flirting with the starfish. She thinks he's such a creep. She slugs him even. And that's the end of Black Planet, except for this little coda. We see Willifred and Goodis, and this is apparently setting up the next story, because basically Willifred is just like, man, we're gonna get those monsters. Nobody makes a fool of me. So he's obviously got this got this hard on for the Nocturnals. So I imagine in the next story, which I wish I had, he's gonna be the antagonist. And then we see a little last shot of Eve and Komodo just relaxing, chilling out. So it's basically a happy ending. Now we get a cover gallery of the first 6 issues from Malibu. These are all just gorgeous. Look at this. Hopefully I won't have too much shine on there. All of these would be nice posters. I like this one in that flashback style. Totally different. Just a limited palette. It looks really interesting. But I like his full-on color more. There's the raccoon. God, even it's just like simple stuff like the way this foreshortened knees coming out of you. He's just a really good artist. Another cool as fuck poster shot. Man, really nice covers. So here we have a pinup gallery. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, these were made just for this collection. And look at this. They get Gene Colan to do a nice pencil drawing. This is probably near the end of Gene Colan's life. Late 90s, I imagine. I don't think he lived that much longer. Mike Allred. After seeing all this beautiful painted art, this looks kind of weak to me. But it's kind of funny how Madman is toasting a marshmallow on Fireline's head. It's kind of funny. But just, it's like, eh. I like this one a lot. Bruce Timm. the animator. That looks pretty cool, Gun Witch. This guy, David Williams, I would imagine maybe he's an animator too. It looks kind of like an animated cartoony style. I don't know who he is, but I like this a lot. This is very appealing. Pretty cool looking. We have Jill Thompson. Kind of perfect that she dressed Halloween Girl, because Halloween Girl looks like she could be Scary Godmother's niece or something. And then we get some sketches. Nocturnals Genesis. So we see the more bestial side of Doc Horror. Doc Horror has to take medicine all the time, so we never see him turn into this, like, whatever he turns into. But it's almost like he's got lycanthropy, I think, something like that, where he has to constantly take this drug or he'll turn into this, I don't know, kind of wolf-like monster. We can see that just in black and white, though, his stuff looks great, too. So I think these are presentation paintings he made. I don't know if these were covers, but they're full-on beautiful paintings. Preliminary sketch. That's very sketchy. Look at that. And painting. This is a little dog. This is a cute dog. See, look how good he is at black and white. Even though I don't want to see that. I want his fully painted art. I love it. But this would be a damn nice comic in black and white, too. These are all nice little sketches. Starfish. I'm really glad he changed the design of Polychrome. She looks kind of like Darkstar from Marvel Comics. This looks kind of weird. It is interesting, though. This looks like a totally different artist. I would never guess it's more abstract head. Not very abstract, but I don't know, a little more stylized. And then luckily we get this. Man. Here's Halloween Girl. Age 12, it says. And man, look at her lips here. Those are crazy lips. Still a nice drawing, though. I like the colors. Komodo, Fire Lion, rough sketches. This is a really rough sketch of the Nocturnals team. Kind of don't even know why this is in here. It's not that good. Look at the dog. How rough that is. Another sketch. Pretty nice. And this is an unfinished page from issue 6. And it looks like Doc Horror is transforming into his bestial side in this scene. So I don't know if maybe he realized, no, I don't want to do that just yet. I'm going to save that for the next story. But man, this is a beautiful page. And I guess he just tossed it. This is when he realized, I'm not finishing this. And another beautiful painting. Dedications. This book is dedicated to Gene Colan. More than his parents or anyone else. It's kind of nice. And here's the next comic that came out. I guess I gotta get this. Nocturnals Witching Hour. 48-page special. And I've got to get these soon. End papers. And that's it for Nocturnals Black Planet by Dan Brereton. I hope you guys like looking at this. I hope you do because this art was beautiful. And I hope you agree. And also, I just love these characters. I swear to God, I'm a Nocturnals fan now. And I want to get all this stuff as soon as I can. So I should get on the internet or go to a comic store. Or actually, I'm pretty broke, so I might not be able to do that. But really fun read. I love these characters. And God, this art is just amazing. So that's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. And hopefully I'll see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.